Good evening and welcome to the Somerville Kiwanis Hour. Thanks for making us part of your television viewing habits today. We certainly appreciate that. My name is Bill Silver, and we're here today with Bob Brooks, the current president, I should say, of Kiwanis Somerville. Also distinguished past president. We have Mr. Jay Lynch. You can tell he is called the distinguished past president because he looks very distinguished. Actually looks like the professor who you could never get more than a C from. You know,
That's
the
right,
type of guy, but he's really not like that. He's a nice guy. And Jim Boating, who's the committee chairman. And we just thought we'd talk today a little bit about Kiwanis, what it is and what it does. So many times you've seen, maybe as a child in a parade, you watch a big float come down and you see the Kiwanis logo and you say, Kiwanis, yeah, I know that, but what exactly is Kiwanis? What is it and what does it do? Yet they have a presence even within this community that you'll find pretty incredible, as these guys will tell you all about. We'll start with President Bob Brooks. Tell us exactly, what is a Kiwanian? What is Kiwanis? What do you do, and what are your objectives, Bob?
Well, thanks for asking, Bill. Basically, Kiwanis is a civic organization, a group of business people, community leaders. We get together for lunch once a week, and we discuss many things. We try and do many programs in the community to help out the youth. Basically, that's pretty much it. We're a community-based organization, and if someone has a need that we could fill, we try to fill it.
And of course, we know that kids are priority one with Kiwanis, which is very important. And I know you guys are so highly focused on those goals, but a lot of people probably wonder how they can become a part of Kiwanis, how they might be able to contribute to some of the great programs you've got around. And I think that's important that we let people know how they could be a part of some of the great things you guys do.
Yeah, it is. The Kiwanis, we've been around for, let's see, 71, 72 years.
Certainly longer than cable TV.
That's true. In fact, if I could pass it on to our distinguished past president, Jay Lynch, and give us a kind of an overview on the history of Kiwanis.
Well, thanks, Bob. I think it's important that you would bring across the point that it is a community service. I think one of the things that Bill opened with about Kiwanis, what is it? I think if we get one message here tonight, we want people to know that Kiwanis is community service. That would be one thing that you could take from this program, that's what, when you see the big K around, Kiwanis is helping people within the community. Many of our members either live or work here in the city, and it is welcome to all people who want to join, men, women, who have a need to serve the community. What we do, we're an open enrollment membership to people who want to join our club. That you would find around the city, many of the civic leaders, bankers, Chamber of Commerce leaders, insurance people, they're all members of Kiwanis, and you'd find it easy to get yourself to a meeting. We meet Thursdays down at the Holiday Inn, as you mentioned, Bob, on a weekly basis. We have a speakers program where you hear a lot about Kiwanis, and not only just
a need to serve the community that brought you in?
No question about it. After I got out of college, I went and worked for a major insurance carrier outside of the city, and when I came to work, our family business has been in the city over 50 years. And in the Davis Square area, I had a local banker who came to me. My father never belonged to any of those clubs, but he, and I also felt the need that I wanted to give something back to the community in which I live. Our family has earned our livelihood out of the city, and we've serviced a lot of customers within the city. So I felt there's so much more that you can do as a group, as a Kiwanis, than you can individually. So I mean, I could write a check to this Jimmy Fund or write a check to this, but I want to do some hands-on.
Sure, and as worthy as those other elements are, certainly there's strength in numbers when it comes to focusing on a community and the needs of the community and doing it. And you guys have done a lot. One of the more notable things that you do, with kids being in the foreground, is the Terrific Kids program, and the reason Jim is here is he's the chairman, the committee chairman of the Terrific Kids, and it has to do with making kids and giving them a positive outlook on themselves and some positive reinforcement, and it's something that basically kids don't get on a day-to-day basis. Jim, if you tell us, what is the Terrific Kids program, how do you get involved with the schools, and what do you do with these youngsters and that makes it so special?
Sure, Bill. It began, from what I believe, about 6 years ago. Now, I'm the rookie in the Kiwanis collective unit here. And about 2 years ago, when I joined, actually Bob Brooks brought me in, And at that time, he wanted me to get involved a little bit, which I was glad to do. He invited me to come down to one of the local parochial schools and help out in the Terrific Kids program. I knew nothing about it, but after a little taste of it, I just fell in love with it. Very rewarding experience. And what it entails, once a month, this year, for instance, I went around with other Kiwanian members, and we go from grade to grade at both St. Anne's and St. Catherine schools, and we would take, the teachers would previously pick 1 or 2 children from each grade, K through 8, and just basically recognize one of the children who, not necessarily for academics, but more for just to give them a feeling of worth and recognition. Maybe I have a strong feeling that a lot of the kids, when they get home, they go along, not necessarily going to an emptied house, but these days where you've got both parents working.
Sure, and you do have your single parent factor.
Sure, and
these
that
kids
also
don't always get the positive reinforcement they need. And I guess the program deals with not only the achievers or the overachievers, but the guys who are giving it the young boys
Really
and
trying.
girls who are giving it an honest to God effort.
And wouldn't necessarily get that pat on the back.
Right.
And granted, this doesn't fill that gap, but it most definitely, heads that direction and really leaves the kid with a sense of I am important and I'm somebody. And for that one reason, that's what got me hooked.
So how many schools have you been to in the course of a year?
Well, every month we go to both St. Catherine's and St. Anne's.
Okay.
Once a month. It starts at almost the beginning of the school year. Usually doesn't kick off till more like early November. And we continued on for the next 7 months until school lets out in May. And it's once a month. We give out certificates of achievement to the children, along with a little sticker that they'd like to put on their refrigerators when they get home, And along with that, we also give out certificates for pizza and a drink, which is something that we started this year, because we noticed that the upper class kids, the 6th, 7th, 8th graders, as much as they enjoyed it, they didn't get, they weren't as gung-ho as the younger grades, as you could imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
And matter of fact, if I could back up a little bit, the younger grades, when they do become winners, or when they recognize, on a monthly basis here, they just light up like there's no tomorrow. And I can't even begin to tell you the sense of overjoy that they get. It's just beautiful seeing.
No, it's good. It's good for them.
But as I was getting at, the upper grade kids, they weren't overly enthusiastic about it. I mean, they enjoyed it and they loved being recognized, but not as much as younger kids. So anyway, this year we came up with an idea. We kind of pushed the envelope a bit, and we contacted a local vendor, a local restaurant, Primo's Pizza, and through his generosity, Jimmy Primo, they're on Broadway, basically contributed certificates for the kids. All told, there were about 250 or 300 given out this year, which entitled the child to a piece of pizza and a drink.
Sure.
And again, it was like gold. And we love giving them out, and they love receiving them, and everyone works. It's a win-win for everyone.
It really is, and I guess that's a good point you make. That with the work that you guys do, it probably is not that difficult to get the support of the local businesses.
Not at all.
All you have to do is, say that there's a need, and the people, who know Kiwanis and the work you do, tend to rise to the occasion, which is good. And it not only is it rewarding for the kids, but to yourself as well. Jay had a good story. Now, you were involved with kids who it came back to you in a different way one night when you were leaving work. You were telling us.
Listen to Jimmy tell the story about what he did. A couple of years before him, I worked with the Terrific Kid program, and one night, going out behind the office where my car was parked in Davis Square, the MBTA runs along behind the back of the office, and there were 2 young children, probably 3rd, 4th grade. They come up to the fence, and they put their hands through the fence, and they say, "Hey, mister, I know you. You're the Terrific Kid man." And I put my briefcase down, I walked over to the fence, and I said, "What did you say?" And I said, "You're the Terrific Kid man. We know you. You came to our school, and you gave us an award." And I said, "That's terrific. Now make sure you go right home." And they went right home, and I got in my car, and I don't even remember the drive home because I was on cloud 9 just thinking about that those kids recognized me for recognizing them, and that made the project that much more enjoyable for me and the club.
And that's just part of what Somerville Kiwanians continues to do, is touch people in a real way, a way that will affect you on your ride home, will affect these kids. When you look back at your life, the people who are important to you, certain people do have an impression and only make that impression in a very short period of time. But something like Terrific Kids is something that will go on for a long time and will be remembered by these youngsters, and it's really important. As much support, though, as you get, there are times when, frankly, programs that Kiwanis does just out and out costs money. And you may say, hey, I've never seen Kiwanis doing a telethon. I don't see them door to door with their hands out all the time. Well, they do some fundraising. And you probably wonder, where does the money come from? Where does the money come from to support these programs and the work that they do? Well, maybe if you'd hit on that a little bit. Exactly what is your fundraising effort, and how do you go about getting the support you need?
Oh, thanks, Bill. There's many different ways we do fundraising. In previous years, we've done pasta nights. One of our major fundraisers, which we do, is Lucky K. And probably many of the business people and some of the people that just residents of the town have bought tickets off many of the business people. We have a drawing 3 times a year, and the money we raise from Lucky K provides us to give out money for scholarships. That's our major fund for that program. The scholarships this year, we are fortunate enough to give out 5 $1,000 scholarships to Somerville High School students this year.
So what are some of the qualifications? So we happen to have a junior or a high school senior going into this year. So boy, they're scratching overturning every rock for some funding sources for college. What are the qualifications, and where do they get applications for the Kiwanis scholarship?
Well, the applications are up at the high school, and the person who chairs that is Jerry Donahoe, who's been a member for the Kiwanis Club of Somerville for many, many years. Actually, he worked for the high school. He was a guidance counselor up there, and I believe he did teach history at one time, but I'm not sure on that. But they have a process where they have the applications. Any student can apply for it, and they go through the process on reviewing the applicants. I'd like to comment on the applicants this year. Were absolutely tremendous kids. They were honor society students. Many of them were involved with the community events this year. They volunteered their time. And it's good because we understand that these are the leaders of our future. These are the leaders of our community. And as far as Kiwanis feels, we have to support them in every way we can. We feel in supporting them with their this financial contribution to help them in their education, they'll come back and actually support the community themselves. So it's important.
Mm-hmm. I know around the holidays last year when you invited me to one of your lunches, it was it was amusing. Now, I don't know if that's one of the scholarships you were talking about, but there was at the end of the luncheon, there was a 5 or was it 5,000?
No, we actually, that was the Paulo Kelly Scholarship Fund.
There was
a
$500 scholarship.
Right.
And I got to that luncheon, and all of a sudden I hear this orchestra music. And there's all these kids, it was like they were doing a Hollywood audition.
Oh.
They were just incredibly talented youngsters who were looking to pursue a career in music. Went before all the Kiwanians, and you guys treated these kids royally.
Ice
like
cream sundae
and they
after
treated,
the lunch.
and they treated you royally, as if they had known you their whole life.
Oh,
and all of them, of course, vying for this particular scholarship, which was awarded later that night. And I think it was a great time. It was a real positive effort, whether they won or they didn't win. They had a great day of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they've been supporting us. The high school in previous years, the choir has come down, and the chorus has come down, and and we've enjoyed their singing. They've sung many Christmas carols at that time of the year, which was very enjoyable. The past couple of years, we've had the string quartet, and so it changes around. But it's really good. Jerry Donahoe makes sure that they come down with Fran Gayron helps, and it's just a great time. Jay's.
One of the things I did want to elaborate on, Bob, is that when you talk about fundraising, one of the things that you see about Kiwanis that I can assure you of being in the club the amount of time that I've been in, is that the money that we raise stays right here in Somerville. One of the great things, if you look at different organizations that you could belong to that have, even though we are Kiwanis International, Kiwanis locally makes sure, our club structure makes sure that all of that money stays in the city. And we want to thank the people of Somerville for helping us with our pasta nights and with our Las Vegas nights that we've had to raise those, because all that money goes towards funding scholarships and Head Start and some of the other things that we'll talk about later on. But it is important that the people that make up this community, they're the ones that give us a lifeblood. Like you said, Bill, you can't do all this. The merchants can only donate so much of what they do.
That's true. But it is important that people recognize that and do support Kiwanis. I know you guys also get you tend to get the support of the teachers, and I know you're very involved with the RIF program. There's more to Kiwanis, as much fun and games as it is. There are some serious motivation there, you know, reading, understanding, comprehension for youngsters, and summertime reading, and bookmobiles, and library science, and on that it goes. And I'm sure the teachers are very receptive to your efforts and welcome you guys with open arms. How long have you been involved with RIF, and what's going on with that through the summer?
Well, actually, we've been involved with RIF for probably 4 or 5 years, I believe now. We're fortunate that we've signed a contract with RIF. We renew it every year and deal with the RIF people directly down in Washington, D.C. We're able at that point to buy books at substantially cheaper amounts so we can turn around and bring them to the classrooms and the students. We don't feel as Kiwanis that we should just buy the books and dump them off to the teachers. We have a committee chairman, which is Sandy Francis, and he organizes it for us. We have Kiwanis go into the classrooms, and these are the Head Start classrooms because we gear it between the ages of 1 and 5. They go into the classrooms. The Kiwanis will read a book to the kids, and this past year I was fortunate enough to read one to a group of kids, and they were excited. I mean, they were tickled pink.
Did you make any mistakes?
Well, the words were really big in the book, so it's really, I didn't need my glasses. And the kids were excited. It was amazing. And the fortunate thing is that these are some kids, unfortunately, the parents don't have the funds to go out to buying the books.
Yeah.
They can take this book, they can bring it home, and this is for them to keep. It's their own book, and they feel honored by it. When Jay was talking about a story earlier about the terrific kid, same similar thing happened to me. We did a RIF program several years ago, and the following year I was in a different classroom. And the kid says, "I know you." And I said, "You do?" And he said, "Yes, you gave me a book last year." And I said, "I did." "Well, have you been reading it?" I said to him. He says, "Yes, I still have it, and I love it." And to me, that's the essence of what we do as Kiwanis for the kids. Yeah. They love it. They're good. This past year, we were fortunate that the Assembly Square Mall, Carolyn Kennedy, who was the director down there, gave us a donation, a very generous donation of $500 to buy books for the kids. And that has really helped because it gives us a chance to get more books out to the kids. And we reached, I believe, was it about 260 kids this year with books.
Yeah, that's great.
It's amazing.
It's a great effort.
If I may, this is one of the reasons why Bob brought me in about 2 years ago. And my initial thought of Kiwanis was basically it was a social club. And they got together for lunch, and people had a couple of drinks, and that was pretty much the be-all, end-all. I've found in the past 2 years that such is not the case. I mean, it's so far from you know, what actually happens. They get so involved. Granted, my opinion is going to be a little biased because I'm a Kiwanian now, but the reason I'm still a Kiwanian and why I'm starting to get more active in the club is because they just do so much. And these guys can tell you, and that's the reason we're here, just to let people out there know that you know, it's guys like these guys who've been there for dozens of years, that they do it all. And,
it's interesting that Jim mentioned that because he brings up a good point. Jim, at this time, he lives in Somerville. His business is in Somerville. He grew up Somerville. He went. In fact, was it St. Anne's that you went to school? So he does the terrific program at St. Anne's.
So
yeah, so he gets to see
years ago.
He gets to see the same teachers.
Those nuns remember whacking your.
Yeah, not as many nuns anymore. But I still kind of tippy-toe through those hallways.
And so that's an example there. Jay's business here is in Somerville. He lives in another town. He goes home, but he still contributes. At the time, my business is in Somerville. I live in another town. So many of the Kiwanians who do not live in the city still support the city. And it's very important. They just don't close their business and go away. They spend the time. They realize that this is where they get their livelihood, and it's up to them to invest in the community so it does survive and has a future.
One thing that I see is it tends to be a bit of a labor of love, frankly. It really does, because I've known you, Bob, as you know, for 9 or 10 years.
Yep.
And Bob became president this year, and frankly, we haven't seen as much of each other as we have in the past. And
his golf game has suffered him.
His golf game has really gone right into the chute. But I'll call him up, Bob, what's going on? Well, I got this with Kiwanis, but I never hear a complaint. And it's funny, you should bring that up, Jim, as well. It's that, you know, these guys do what most people would consider work, but it's a labor of love. It's a love for the community and for the progress and for the program and to see everything come to fruition is rewarding. It gives you a sense of satisfaction that you've contributed in a very positive way to Somerville. And something you guys really should be proud of. I'm not a member myself, but I feel maybe within this hour I might be convinced to maybe give it a go. Who knows? But
well, it's interesting
I'm
he'd
always
say
happy to
that.
help.
It's interesting if I interrupted. He said that the year I was president, Bob didn't see much of his wife, and this year my wife doesn't even know what I look like anymore because we're a tandem team here. We've had a good year of getting the word out, like you said, and it is a commitment that, like Jim said earlier, that the people are committed, and Bob and I, a couple of young, we've got members who, just last week, one of our members was president the year I was born.
Really?
And that's 40 years ago.
Yes.
And he's past president, still comes to the meeting every week, and he's probably been in 40, 50 years.
Yeah,
He's been a member. And there are many members. We have, I don't know if I alluded to it earlier, about 80 members in the club. And I would venture to say over half of them have 25 years of service in the club. And that's commitment. That's community service.
It really is. Now, with the onset of the good weather this year, the worst winter in the history of Boston ever, good weather comes, and you guys, your minds turn toward kids' safety, bicycling. I know you had a major event going on with bike safety. You want to tell us a little bit about that, Bob?
Yeah, we just did it on May 11th. We just had our bike safety rodeo day, and we had this planned in conjunction with 60 other Kiwanis clubs throughout New England. Granted, the Somerville Kiwanis is a solid club, but we're not out there alone. New England Kiwanis is very big, and with the other 60 clubs participating, we wanted to try to get it out as far as the safety. Realized that Massachusetts passed a law a couple years ago that no child should ride a bicycle without a helmet under 12 years old, but unfortunately, when you look outside, you still see the kids. The problem is that kids do not have helmets, and they get in accidents, and they're very serious accidents. If they have helmets, they're very well protected. So what we did, we decided to have our bicycle safety day, and with our chairman, Rick Sirocco, who chaired the event this year, with the help from Ann Cooper and a neighborhood council, we were able to obtain a grant to help us purchase helmets. With the helmets, we had several Kiwanian members participate at the high school, and we ran little obstacle courses for the kids. And every kid that came to the program who was not wearing a helmet, we fitted them with a helmet. In fact, Jay was working on the fitting department, fitting them with a helmet. They went through the obstacle course. We gave them handouts not only as far as bicycle safety, but pedestrian safety. We wanted the kids to at least to have some type of education, because a lot of times when a kid buys a bicycle, they immediately think they know how to ride it. And if you see some parents standing on the back, they're pushing them, well, the kid really does not have the skills. And we wanted to give them a little extra protection. It turned out to be a very successful program, and we're looking to make it a lot more successful next year. We had the police down there. They were registering bicycles that day. And Dean Razzaboni, who was very generous of his time from the owner of Park Cycles, came down. He was inspecting bicycles for the kids. And it was a great program.
It was good. I'm sure a lot of people watching, maybe $20 or $30 is not an issue for a helmet, but to a lot of kids in Somerville, it's an issue. And this is the type of organization that rises above that issue and provides the safety regardless of the cost. And we realize how much work is involved in grant request and grant writing, but this is the type of outfit that'll do it and get it done for the community of Somerville. And I think it speaks, again, highly of you guys and what your objectives are with the kids of the community. And it's important, and I think that's why you're going to be more well received as time goes on, is because of the input and the way you have touched people's lives. It's certainly commendable.
Well, we feel it is very important. We fund all the Kiwanis in New England fund the Kiwanis Pediatric Trauma Institute, which is in downtown Boston. I believe it was the old floating hospital.
It's New England Medical Center.
It's New England Medical Center. Thanks, Jay. And basically what we do is we fund that so that the kids come in there and...
now that's done through the International Kiwanis, right?
Well, that's done through New England.
Just
in New England, right.
Just through New England.
And we support that also. and kids will go in there, and if they're hurt, they're med-flighted in. There was one child a couple years ago.
Up in Wilmington or something.
Yeah,
Hit by a car.
he was hit by a car, and the tire went over him, crushed his helmet. They rushed him in there. He had a few scratches, and that was it. Fortunately, he had the helmet on. It was the Kiwanis helmet.
So important.
If we took a trip in there recently, and unfortunately, looking at some of the kids, it was sad to see some of the conditions they were in. Just coming tonight, we were looking there, and there was a car going through Somerville. There was a kid standing in the back seat. He couldn't have been no more than, 3 years old, and he was waving to people out the window. And I said to myself, don't these parents realize they could be the best driver in the world, but if somebody slid into him, this kid's going to get hurt. He should have been buckled in.
You had some major sports celebrities help you out with some of the bicycle safety stuff this year, huh? As I recall, it wasn't Dee Brown, or is that a rumor?
Yes. Well, actually, we have a piece with the Celtics involved with it, and Dee Brown is a public service announcement, and we have that here if we'd like to take a look at it.
Hi there. Every time I play, I make sure I wear the right equipment. You should too, especially when you go out to play on your bike. The statistics back me up. Every year, over 250,000 kids suffer serious head injuries while bicycling. The real tragedy is that these injuries can't be prevented just by wearing your safety helmet. To ride like a champ, dress like a champ. With this, remember, there's nothing cool about a head injury. Use your head, wear a helmet.
There you go. Thanks so much to Dee Brown and for all the Celtics and their support of Kiwanis activities. Dee Brown still play for us? before he heads out of town, see if you can hit him up for a couple of dollars to help sponsor one of your events. It wasn't much long after the bicycle thing, and first of all, welcome back. This is the Kiwanis Hour. I'm Bill Silver, along with President Bob Brooks, the president of Somerville Kiwanis for this year. Past president Jay Lynch is here, and also Jim Boating, who's one of the many committee chairmen who helps with the various activities in and around the city of Somerville. And thank you all for your support. But again, another big event this summer. We had Mayor Capuano down there. Michael was there at Trump Field, the playground track meet that attracted to more than 300 youngsters this year. Very successful. A beautiful night in the middle of the summer. And tell us what that was all about.
Right, Bill. That's I've got the program right here, the 75th annual Inter-Playground Track Meet. Any child that's grown up in the city of Somerville knows that at the end of the summer, just before it's time to go back to school, they have the competition for the winning playground, whichever it be Conway, Dilboy, Foss, Lincoln, Shaw, Trum, or Glenn. They all compete for medals in the long jump, high jump, relay, you name the event. It's probably very timely with the Olympics and everybody watching the Olympics this year.
So did you get any endorsement deals for these kids?
Not that I know of.
No Wheaties boxes for some of the
Wheaties
kids?
boxes.
Not this year.
But I'll tell you, the competitors are just as worthy as some of the people we watched in the Olympics. And Kiwanis has been involved for a number of years. I'm not so sure all 75 years, but one of our past presidents, a guy by the name of Billy Maher, got us involved in this over 20, 25 years ago, and with the cooperation with Jim Callahan of the Recreation Committee that works out of the mayor's office. Kiwanis has been involved in sponsoring the event with the publishing of the programs. We sponsored the awards, and it was a great night. So many people turned out to watch the events, watch their kids compete, and Kiwanis is just proud to be a part of that. And the trophies that the winners, the parks win, are the Bill Maher Memorial Trophies, who was a proud Kiwanis member, and we're glad to be a part of that program as well.
Well, there you go. Just a couple of events that happened during the summer here in Somerville, and more events planned for the winter. I mean, it's an ongoing battle for you guys. You just go from one activity to another to involve yourselves in the city and the well-being of the city. One thing that sticks in my mind from last year around the holidays, well, actually a couple of items. One was the Head Start Christmas party, and I guess the other one was the Toys for Tots. Now, I know Bob and Jay and Jim all have friends in the service, and it's really no secret armed service enrollment is down, and the Toys for Tots campaign, frankly, has suffered because the people just aren't there to man that kind of drive. And Jay, a couple of years ago, did step forward and help out in Somerville, and it'd be no surprise to anybody. There's enough of a need for Toys for Tots, so all those toys stay right here in the city of Somerville. How exactly that get started, and how's the progress going on that?
Well, just a little bit on that. I belong to another organization that has supported the United States Marine Corps in their efforts for Toys for Tots for over 22 years. And as I was president in '93, I thought it would be a very easy project for many of our members to participate in. Not a lot of money involved. You go out, buy a toy. It was a good feeling, a real make you feel good time, Christmas time, to people that don't have enough toys. So I contacted the Marine Corps, and they put me in touch with a girl by the name of Cindy Hickey here in the city, who, in conjunction with the mayor's office, helped us do that. And Jim, you could add just a little bit too about the Toys for Tots program.
Yeah, from that point, all the members are encouraged to get involved, to bring a toy, and if they could, if they have some space in their particular business, maybe put some kind of a box out, and maybe some of their patrons can also help out, just to make it a complete citywide, donor program. And to reiterate, with the cutbacks, government cutbacks, it's now become an issue where the private sector can get involved, and Kiwanis is one of those organizations that just kind of, felt the need to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good program and a worthy program, but we're living in a time when a Salvation Army guy can't even ring the bell in front of a liquor store anymore.
Right.
So I mean, it's important that you certainly, pick up the slack here, and I think it went beyond expectations last year, did it not?
Right.
Or-
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it did very well. It all comes to an end. It culminates the second week in December at the weekly meeting, and that's when all the members would bring in at least one toy, and if they found it, if they could have, they would have, in their place of business, they would have even brought up even some more to get, like I said, even more people involved. And that's where it just comes to a head, and Bob can reiterate from the...
Yeah, it's Jim's actually being a little on the modest side, to tell you the truth, because there was a couple members this year, Sandy McGoldrick from the Winter Hill Federal Savings Bank, who was also an officer in the club, and also Jimmy Bouldering brought one giant box filled with toys that they collected at their businesses. And along with the members, we had probably one of the largest amounts of toys we've had in a substantial amount of time. Any member who unfortunately was not able to go out and get a toy made a cash contribution, which really helped. I was fortunate that during my installation before I became president, we raised $405, which actually went to this program. So we were able to take a substantial amount of that money along with the members' contribution, and really made a significant difference. We know that it's important for these kids not to be left out.
Sure.
We don't want to have anybody left out.
The need is there, Bob. The other thing that's always a good time and it fulfills a need in the community is the Head Start Christmas party, the whole adopted child program. Tell us a little bit. Head Start, of course, goes way back to the Kennedy and Johnson administration, and it's been in Somerville for a number of years. What's been the Kiwanis involvement for this Head Start Christmas party, and how has that been received?
Well, one of our members, Sal Berlami, and through his help, Sal's a past president, and Frank Ballistri, another past president, got together with Head Start and said that we need some more of an interactive way to work with the kids. And what we've done is through Head Start and the Holiday Inn, who's donated this the last 2-3 years, I think it is, we have a buffet dinner down at the Holiday Inn, and Santa Claus is there, and each Kiwanis member is assigned a Head Start family that needs toys on a needs basis, and we sit with the families and spend a little Christmas fun with them, and it's a great night for the members.
Good. And
Yeah.
then there were, excuse me, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to wrap, because to me it was very special this year. The family that we got, unfortunately, a couple weeks before, were burned out. The kids lost their toys. The kids lost a substantial amount of clothes. And both my wife, Tricia, came down, and my daughter, Stephanie, were there. And we got the toys to the kids. We sat with them. We ate with them. And I got a picture taken with the kids. And when I think of the picture, Jay and Jim have seen the picture. And it almost brings tears to my eyes, because I really felt so important to these kids. And I really felt like, this is why we're on the earth. We're going to help these kids, and I've ever had. It's important. When Jay alluded to the fact the Holiday Inn, they've been very, very generous. Ray Spurlett, who happens to be a member of Kiwanis, donated the hall. They donated the food, all the food for us to eat. Their staff members were there helping us out. So there was a tremendous amount of people that really contributed to make a lot of people happy during that time of the year, and it's great.
And there's other events, of course. We're talking things like karaoke and caroling for the elderly in some of the nursing facilities in and around the city, and that gives you basically an overview of what Kiwanis does within this community of Somerville. And as much as they do here, Kiwanis does have still another agenda, and it's perhaps the thrust and the focal point of the worldwide Kiwanis community, and that being what's called IDD. It's iodine deficiency. Now, what exactly does iodine deficiency do? Well, things like goiter and mental retardation and problems with the reproductive failure in some of the third world countries. And why is that? Because iodine is deficient in diets in a good part of the world. They say as little as 1 teaspoon of iodine over the course of a lifetime will eliminate you having to worry about certain types of iodine deficiency related illnesses. And Kiwanis has been struggling for years to get rid of IDD. By the year 2000 is their goal, which is only 3 years away.
That's it.
Tell us a little bit about some of those worldwide efforts and what your contribution is and what's going on with that, first of all, Bob.
Well, that is probably the major focal point of Kiwanis International. We have started the campaign. In Kiwanis, when I say Kiwanis International, I'm talking about over 300,000 members of Kiwanis in 74 different countries. And basically last year was the start. We wanted to get people educated on actually what this actual IDD disease was and how could we eliminate. The most important thing is that today there's AIDS, we still have people suffering from cancer, the list goes on. But IDD, we know what the cure is, we know what the solution is, and we can solve it, period.
So you just have to get it done.
That's it, we have to get it done. And basically what we've done is Kiwanis International, through our president, Eddie Sigurdsson from Iceland, we have committed $75 million to this program along with UNICEF. The major spokesman for UNICEF is Roger Moore. If you remember Roger Moore, who is 007,
Sure.
James
Yeah.
Bond. He's been promoting this as much as he can. He's been making tours throughout the world, the third world countries. And just recently, I came back from Utah for the 81st International Kiwanis Convention and was fortunate enough to hear him speak. In our club, we're very fortunate there. Bob Nissenbaum, who is our secretary, is also the New England District Chairman for IDD. He is at this point in the process of raising $50,000 through our New England area to combat this disease. I'd like to mention that all it takes is $50,000 to convert a salt plant to make it iodized salt. This iodized salt, kids will not grow up with mental retardation, will not grow up with the diseases that they have. At this point, there is 1.5 billion children affected by this. Through these efforts, we feel that we can solve this problem. At the present time,
Does it seem like it is 3 years?
I believe it can. The program was a 5-year program, and the first year and a half was basically education. At this point, we have in total pledges and money committed over $11 million. So we're on our way. And as it goes, we'll be steamrolling even more to collect funds.
It's certainly a worthy venture and one that you guys can take pride in the achievements to go that way. Medical science, not only with the IDD, but bring it back locally just for a second. I know you do the Medical Jump Start program that's with junior high students, right?
Yeah, that's the 7th grade students.
Okay, so what's that all about?
Well, in conjunction, it's a brand new program that we started this year. It's called Medical Jump Start. It was a pilot program, and with Brenda Parisi, who is involved with the Somerville Hospital, and Carl Zach, we wanted to reach an area of kids that had a tough time, and we felt that the 7th grade students were probably the best ones that we had. It was geared to realizing that healthcare professionals have to have good skills, not only in English, but math skills. And we wanted to show the kids there that this is what they needed to do. So we brought them up there. They saw the laboratories. They saw the x-ray machines. They got involved with infectious disease, pharmacology. So they realized that these are the subjects they have to learn in school now. They can't wait till they're in high school and all of
Yeah.
a sudden fall behind.
It's no longer just a course in school. Now here's what we do with that,
That's
with that
right,
knowledge.
that's right.
And here's
And-
what it takes to get there, and you expose them to the new technology. And of course, we're fortunate here to be in the medical mecca of the universe, really. Boston's considered to be, you know, one of the highest planes of, with medical technology of being what it is. And it's good that you know, expose these
Yeah.
youngsters to the
Yeah.
program. And it's, again, another thing. So people, after watching us sit here and kibitz for an hour, are probably saying, yeah, it's not a bad deal, you know. It's rewarding personally. It does a lot of good not only within the community, but it has an outreach certainly beyond Somerville. How do I get involved with that? You know, how can I become part of a great organization like Kiwanis? Well, it's really not that difficult. It really isn't. Why don't you tell if anyone wants to join you guys?
Actually, if we could have our membership chairman, the distinguished past president Jay Lynch, elaborate on that.
Well, it's just we talked a little bit about it early on, Bill, and I just think that membership is open to anybody in the city who wants to be a part of it. Kiwanis is community service. We want anyone who lives or works in the city or has any interest in community service to Somerville to contact us. The Kiwanis Club of Somerville, our club address is care of the Nissenbaum Realtors at 775 Broadway in Somerville, Mass. It's 02144. And I think that by contacting that number, you'll reach one of our members, and we'll certainly get you the information. If you can't do that, come down any Thursday at 12:15 at the Holiday Inn in Somerville, and we're having a luncheon every Thursday, and you can join us there, and we'll be happy to have you, even as a guest.
Sounds like a good idea, Jay. It really does. Maybe we'll come down for lunch. I've joined you in the past. The
Yeah.
food's good and everything else. You know, I want to repeat that telephone number once again for those of you who would like to join Kiwanis. Just call 776-2016. That's 776-2016, area code 617, and ask for extension 231 and be a part of this great organization known as Kiwanis. You've been watching the first ever Kiwanis Hour here in Somerville on cable access. And it's been a pleasure. My name is Bill Silver, along with President Bob Brooks, your local chapter president. Past President Jay Lynch is here, and our special thanks as well to Jim Boating, one of the many committee chairmen. If you've been in and around Somerville, you've seen the effects of this organization. Let's leave you with this. Take a look at the effects of Kiwanis and their efforts against IDD.
At first, I couldn't believe it. It seemed incomprehensible that such a small amount of one micronutrient, iodine, could make such a dramatic difference in the lives of so many people. But the evidence is clear and overwhelming. In areas of the world away from oceans, and especially in mountainous regions and low-lying areas subject to flooding, years and years of erosion have taken the iodine from the soil. Over 1/5 of the world's population suffers from a range of disorders that leaves them physically stunted and mentally disabled, subject to sickness, disease, birth defects, and infant mortality. These people are unable to live their lives with even a hope of achieving what you and I so often take for granted. More than 1.5 billion people in over 107 countries are at risk from iodine deficiency disorders, and half of them are children. These problems simply don't exist where iodine is naturally available, or where it is available as a dietary supplement. Yes, iodine deficiency disorders can be prevented. For less than the cost of one jumbo jet, we can virtually eliminate iodine deficiency disorders forever. Now I understand. I understand how I, as a Kiwanian, together with others, can make a real and lasting contribution to all humanity. And I say yes, yes, I must be part of the solution.
With more than 1/3 of a million members throughout the world, Kiwanis is known in local communities for its efforts to improve the lives of all people and especially the lives of young children. Young Children Priority One is a distinctive opportunity for Kiwanians working through their local clubs to those who will one day take on the world's challenges.
Though the scope of our efforts is wide-ranging, we are united in a single goal: to address the needs of young children. Now we have what might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for every Kiwanian and every club to take on a single worldwide project as an integral part of Young Children Priority One. To come together as one international organization with a single focus, to use our strength as a major milestone in children's health.
We in the news business often see the plight of young children. The disorders resulting from iodine deficiency have been recognized for centuries, and they are devastating. They stunt physical growth and mental ability. They diminish productivity. They lead to stillbirth and infant death. It's only recently, however, that scientists and public health officials have realized the full extent of problems caused by iodine deficiency disorders and the relative simplicity.
A thyroid deprived of iodine cannot produce the hormones that are needed to develop and support the brain and the nervous system. 1 teaspoon in tiny amounts over the course of a lifetime, and especially in pregnancy and early childhood, is all that is required to enable the thyroid gland to develop properly and do its job. Medical experts have learned that fortifying or supplementing the diets of children suffering from iodine deficiency disorders serves to diminish and even reverse most of their symptoms. The simple iodization techniques that we have today give us the ability to minimize the effects of IDD for those at risk.
The goal of virtually eliminating iodine deficiency disorders by the year 2000 was endorsed in 1990 by the World Summit for Children. This was the largest gathering of heads of state in history. Organizations including the World Health Organization, the United Nations Children's Fund, and the International Council for the Control of Iodine Deficiency Disorders are already working on the challenge of preventing IDD. But their efforts alone are not enough. To succeed, we must all work together as part of the Kiwanis solution to virtually eliminate the most prevalent cause of preventable retardation in the world today.
When we in Kiwanis learned about iodine deficiency disorders and the effects they have on children and families around the world, and when we learned that the means of preventing them, virtually eliminating them for all time, was within our grasp, we knew that we could not stand by and do nothing, so we accepted the challenge.
Implementing the solution is an enormous task, and each Kiwanian's significant involvement is critical. We must accept the challenge. With more than 1.5 billion people at risk, at least 1,000 salt installations will be required, and each one has an average cost of $50,000 US. Our money will also be needed to cover the cost of iodised oil programs, of education, of quality control, and other aspects of putting in place one of the largest and the most far-reaching micronutrient delivery programs the world has ever seen.
Every Kiwanian, every club, and friends of Kiwanians around the world are being asked to support the worldwide service project in proportion to their means and be a part of the solution to virtually eliminate a scourge that has plagued mankind for centuries. We are counting on you. Your contribution, together with your club's commitment and the gifts of many other clubs and individuals, will enable us to help countless children in the next few years, continuing the Kiwanis tradition of making young children priority one. It will enable us to make a difference where we can, to secure our place in our global community, and to end for all time the debilitating effects of iodine deficiency disorders.
And I say, yes, yes, I must be part of the solution.